October 1st, 331 BC. The sun had not yet risen, but history was already about to change. You're standing on an open plain near Gaugamela. No cover, no escape, just dust and death. Across from you stands a wall of humanity, 250,000 men, the largest army the ancient world has ever seen. And by sunset, that army will collapse. Its king will run for his life, and a 25-year-old boy will become the master of Asia. How does a smaller army destroy an empire in a single day? Stay with me, because this wasn't luck. This was design. "11 days before the clash, the sky turned against the Persians. A total lunar eclipse bathed the world in blood-red light. To the soldiers of Darius III, it wasn't just a sign, it was a warning. Fear spread quietly, like a disease. A young Persian soldier tightened his grip on his spear, but his hands wouldn't stop shaking. He whispered a prayer under his breath, not for victory, but for survival. But inside Alexander's camp, the fear was weaponized. The moon is the symbol of Persia, the sun of Macedonia. Tonight the moon fades. Tomorrow, the sun rises. Before the battle even began, Alexander had already taken control of the most important battlefield, the human mind. But while fear took root in the Persian ranks, something far more dangerous was forming. Darius III had learned from his defeat at Issus. This time, he chose the ground, wide, flat, endless. Weeks before the battle, thousands of labourers scraped the earth clean, rocks removed, ground levelled, every imperfection erased. This wasn't a battlefield, it was a machine, a racetrack for death. 200 scythed chariots waited at the front, steel blades fixed to their wheels, designed to slice men apart at full speed. Beside them stood war elephants from the Indus Valley, massive, unfamiliar, terrifying. Their handlers whispered commands as the beast shifted restlessly, snorting, stamping, sensing what was coming. A Macedonian soldier stared at them from across the field. "I've never seen anything like this," he muttered. For a moment, even he wondered if this was the end. But what Darius had built was only as strong as the men holding it together. That night, the Persian camp burned like a sea of fire. Thousands of torches flickered across the horizon. Darius forced his men to stand in full armour for hours. Their legs trembled, their shoulders burned. Sleep never came, fear kept them awake. Inside the Macedonian camp, silence. Parmenion stepped forward. "Attack now, in the dark, or we die in the light." Alexander didn't hesitate. "I do not steal my victory." He lay down and slept, deeply, calmly. One army stood awake, exhausted, anxious, breaking from within. The other rested, conserving strength for the storm ahead. Somewhere in the darkness, a Macedonian soldier closed his eyes, unaware that by morning he would be standing inside one of the most violent battles in history. When dawn comes, discipline will face chaos. At first light, it begins. Darkness fades, and the battlefield reveals itself. Across the plain of Gaugamela, the Persian army stretches to the horizon. It doesn't look like an army, it looks like a wall. Cavalry on both wings, chariots at the front, infantry packed deep at the centre, and at the heart of it all stands Darius, still, watching, waiting. On the other side, the Macedonians form in silence. No shouting, no chaos, only discipline. A soldier tightens his grip on his sarissa, his palms wet with sweat, his heartbeat loud in his ears. This is it. There will be no second battle. Everything will be decided today. And somewhere behind that silent line, As the sun rises, the Macedonian line comes into view. At its centre stands the phalanx, 40,000 men, shoulder to shoulder. Each one grips a sarissa, a 20-foot spear of ash wood and iron. The first 5 rows level their weapons forward. Behind them, more spears angle upward, a forest of steel shifting and breathing as one. An arrow flies and vanishes into the wall of pikes before it ever reaches flesh. A Persian archer watches in disbelief. His chest tightens. How do you fight something you can't even reach? But even this wall of discipline was about to be tested. The battle begins, but Alexander doesn't charge. He moves, sideways, slowly drifting to the right. At first it looks like hesitation, then like a mistake. Darius watches carefully. If Alexander leaves the prepared ground, the chariots lose their power. So he reacts. He stretches his left wing to follow, and slowly, the Persian line begins to thin. Like fabric pulled too tight, threads begin to tear. Alexander isn't attacking the army, he's pulling it apart, and somewhere in that stretching line, a weakness begins to form. Darius makes his move. Release the chariots! The ground erupts. Hundreds of blades spin toward the Macedonian line, cutting through air, screaming with speed. A Macedonian soldier freezes for a split second. His body refuses to move. Then, training takes over. At the last possible moment, the phalanx opens. Gaps appear. Perfect. Precise. The horses see space and charge straight through. The trap snaps shut. Light infantry swarm from the sides, dragging drivers down, stabbing, hacking, ending the threat in seconds. Wood splinters, horses scream, men die tangled in their own weapons. Darius's greatest advantage is gone, but the battlefield is only getting worse. Then the dust rises, not slowly, violently. Tens of thousands of feet hammer the dry earth, throwing a massive cloud into the sky. The sun disappears, the air thickens. You try to breathe, but your lungs fill with dirt. Your mouth tastes like iron and sand. You can't see 10 feet ahead. A scream erupts beside you, cut off instantly. Metal crashes against metal. Bones crack. Men shout orders that vanish into the noise. A Persian cavalryman spins in place, blinded. "Where is our king?" he shouts. No answer comes. The army isn't just fighting the enemy anymore, it's losing control. And in that chaos, Alexander sees it. A gap, small, fragile, but real. Alexander doesn't hesitate. He forms his companion cavalry into a wedge, a human spear aimed at the heart of the empire. They charge. The ground shakes beneath them. Time begins to slow. The noise fades into a distant roar. Alexander locks his eyes forward, on one man, Darius III. They crash through the Persian guard. Closer, closer. Alexander pulls his arm back. For a moment, everything hangs in silence. Then he throws. The spear cuts through the dust and misses by inches. But it doesn't matter, because in that moment, Darius sees the truth. This is not a battle he can win. Fear takes him, and the King of Kings turns his chariot and runs. The Persian centre collapses, but the battle isn't over. On the left flank, Parmenion is breaking. Persian cavalry floods the line. Men are cut down, supplies overrun. A messenger reaches Alexander. If you don't return, everything is lost. Alexander looks ahead. Darius is escaping. The war could end right now, or his army could die behind him. For a single heartbeat, he hesitates. Then he turns. He rides back into the storm. He slams into the Persian cavalry, breaking their momentum, saving his men. Victory will not come at the cost of his army. By sunset, it's over. The Persian army is gone. not defeated, disintegrated. The ground is no longer dust, it is mud, soaked with blood. Babylon falls, Susa opens its gates, Persepolis surrenders its gold, an empire ends in a single day. When Alexander finds him, there is no victory left to claim, only silence. He kneels beside his fallen enemy and covers him with his cloak. The Achaemenid Empire is gone, but something else has begun. Alexander begins to change. He wears Persian silks, demands to be treated like a god. The conqueror is becoming the empire. He has reached the edge of the world, but his hunger is only growing, because for a man like Alexander, one world was never enough. But the war is not over, because far ahead, in the mountains of Persia, a narrow pass is waiting, a place where numbers don't matter, where an empire's last defenders are preparing a trap, and where, for the first time, Alexander will not be the hunter, he will be the prey. The Battle of the Persian Gate is where the legend almost ends.